Okay. Well, today is March 31st, 2021. Welcome to The World Needed Another Podcast. Gino and I were in the Bahamas doing a lot of drugs, so that's why we took the break. But Gino, how you been, man? What have you been up to this week?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm doing well. Happy pre-April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Do you have
Do
any?
you do that? I don't do it.
Jokes?
I don't do April Fools. So maybe I should
always
call
think
my clients
like-
and say there was some sort of mistake and all your money got wired away. I think that
Yeah,
would be
that would-
funny, but maybe that's not funny. I think that would be insane.
Depends on the client.
You imagine
I
calling
mean,
someone and said 800 grand's gone overnight? Yikes. Yikes. So, good week so far. It's been hot down here in Florida.
Yeah, it's been a really good week.
Sweating through all
The
my
markets
shirts.
have been. I mean, that happens regardless, whether it's summertime down here. But no, I mean, markets have been kind of crazy. Been fielding a lot of calls, a lot of client service
Yeah.
lately. I think people just kind of want to touch base and get a better understanding of what's
I've had
going
people
on.
reach out to me that previously I had no connection with, saying, "Hey, we talked back in October. I want your opinion now." And the guy sent all his statements over. It's tremendous. So
Yeah. It's caused a lot of cause for concern,
Yeah.
I guess you could say. A lot of people want a peace of mind. So sometimes me just having a conversation with them is all they need.
Yeah, they like to check, which is, a great segue. Before we hit into it, please follow the podcast. Check us out on Spotify, Podbean, YouTube. Please share us on LinkedIn, wherever you see us.
Share it.
That's definitely your assignment today, Mr. or Mrs. Viewer. I need you to share
We love you,
this.
though. We
I
really
need
do
you
love
to
you.
basically, folks. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I want to work the least amount as possible in my life, and I'm actually very good at it. I'm very good at not working, which means if you folks share this, and I can start selling products to you through this interface. I don't know what I'll sell you guys. It might be a shaving kit. It might be a meal plan. I don't know, but if you folks buy it, that means I don't have to work. And the less time I spend working, it's tremendous. So really, save a life today. Retweet this video. That way I don't have to work and I don't go crazy. So, but as we were originally talking about, great segue into what Gino and I want to talk about today is just good things that we see wealthy people doing. And when Gino and I say wealthy, it's not so much about the dollar amount. It's about their success. They achieve a lot of success in whatever they do. So, Gino, I'm sure you feel the same way, but wealthy people are also successful. Or I should say, successful people are also wealthy. Do you agree with that, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. Obviously, It depends on the person. I think it's a relative term. So when I think wealthy enough for flexibility and freedom of choice. They don't necessarily need to work. They run a business. They do what they love, kind of part time.
They don't get a lot of surprises.
They don't get a lot of
They don't wake up to,
headaches.
oh crap, the roof's done. They've planned for that.
Yeah, I mean, talk about like stress-free life. I mean, this is the epitome of where I think most folks want to be, which is money's not a concern. You have money for a rainy day and then some. And to me, that's when you don't have to worry about a lot of things. It puts a lot of
Makes it easier.
what could be stressed.
And
Oh my
really,
gosh.
that's point number one. Is don't let anyone tell you that you can't buy happiness. You absolutely can. It's actually pretty cheap. In the event you can't afford it, you can also rent it. So money is a big deal in life. So proper planning. These successful people, you definitely can buy happiness. Don't let anyone lie to you and say that you can't. If you can't buy it, you can certainly rent it. Maybe you lease it. But either way, having this money and having the proper plan in place is going to make you overall happy. So we saw this article, somewhat related, but it's titled 4 Things Dave Ramsey is Dead Wrong About. And Gino and I wanted to talk about this not because it puts a negative light on Dave Ramsey, but because a lot of what they talk about in this article is things that we see successful people doing. So,
And also, I do want to add to that, Anthony. It's more so who Dave Ramsey's targeting. So really rich people don't read Dave Ramsey.
that's right.
I find that he's targeting probably a lower middle class. Maybe, I guess you could say middle class.
Yeah, I would say middle
definitely
class, but definitely on the lower side of it.
So some of these people he's targeting are already in messed up situations. With tons of credit card debt, with student loans, with a mortgage that they can't afford. So we're talking about things that are already broken that need fixing.
Definitely.
Whereas the type of person we're trying to describe, so wealthy guy, wealthy gal, don't get in these types of situations.
Yeah.
Ever.
Avoidance
Ever.
is the most important thing. And again, it's Dave Ramsey gives out some pretty good advice, I would say. But for the most part, if you had to pick a random personality and then always take their advice, Dave Ramsey probably will not make you go broke. And I say that, probably will not make you go broke. So it's not like all of his ideas or strategies are bad. I think some of them are very good. It's just there's a few that this person happens to disagree with, but also, Gino and I just see successful people doing the opposite of this. So worth taking a look at. So, that's what Gino and I do for a living is obviously we look at the most successful people in the area and we understand what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong. So the first one was S&P 500 returns. So I guess Dave Ramsey is claiming that the market averages 12%. And when I say the market, the S&P 500.
Well, he's talking about historical average, which is missing a lot of factors. So he's undershooting, I think, because depending on when you're invested, you could have done a heck of a lot more than 12, or you could have done way worse. Could have done way worse. Yeah. So if you want a tailored portfolio, call us, and we can build one that's perfect for you and your situation and your risk.
Folks. Promise you that. Mine are cheaper than Gino's, so definitely call me.
But you get what you're paying for. I'll leave it at that.
You're paying for the best. That's what you're paying for over here.
But I think it just goes into how he came to that number and how it doesn't take into account certain measures like compound annual growth rate. There's a lot more than just looking at the average return, is what the message of part, I guess, bullet point 1 or number 1 of this article.
I agree. And 12% is an S&P 500 return. I think you should project your finances. I think that's a good habit. So I like his advice here, but I would say 12% is way too high. Undershoot yourself. So when you undershoot your projections, the worst case scenario is you have more money than you thought. Gee, what a problem. So, but I would say as a whole, so overstating the S&P 500 returns is a mistake. Something that wealthy people do that is related to this is they diversify outside of the S&P 500. And I don't mean they're doing S&P 500 and Dow Jones. Gino, talk a little bit about that. So we meet people with all sorts of different investments.
It's always real estate. So real estate's always part of it. Maybe not all of it, but it's always part of it.
I would agree with that. I would say wealthy, successful people, at least here in Florida, most of the time own some percentage of real estate. It may be just a secondary home, or it may be property number 8, 9, 10. So, But most importantly, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. So even if the S&P 500 does 12%, on average, 1 year you're going to get a bad year, or you're not going to get that 12%. You're going to be a little bit. There's a standard deviation, right? So if it averages 12% on a year-to-year basis, it may not be the point. It may not be the case. Wealthy people will diversify, so they're in real estate. Or perhaps they are, private investments, private placements. Businesses, right? So this is really important. So whether or not you can count on the 12% or not is kind of not the point of this. I would say the biggest takeaway is that wealthy people are investing in areas that the average person isn't even considering. So they're only doing S&P 500, or they're only doing real estate. I think only doing one area is a mistake. So wealthy people do not bank on any one average return for any one market, I would say.
I would agree with your statement that this is an overshot. I mean, this is one heck of an assumption.
Yeah.
Earning 12% per year. I mean, that's definitely not the case. And that's why when we run projections, we always shoot on the low end. So again, folks, call us. This is what we do all day. But we always underperform and overdeliver. What I mean by that is the projections we run are much lower than 12% because we want to know, even in the worst of times, you'll be okay.
Yeah, you need
meeting 12% is not security.
12%, it's not. So definitely talk to a financial professional. Obviously, we got two geniuses in the room now. But wherever you are, talk to a professional. Anyone's going to tell you that 12% is not average. And again, I think if you want to have the mindset of a successful person, you're going to look at diversifying outside of these markets. So whether it's a Nasdaq, the S&P 500, or the Dow Jones, you're going to try to get rid of that. So number 2 here, Dave Ramsey recommends mutual funds rather than ETFs. So without getting super into it, mutual funds are going to be more actively managed. So you're going to have a manager, he or she's going to be buying or selling based on that. ETFs are going to be a little bit more economical, and they're going to track a very set criteria. So, Gino, when you're investing for either yourself or your clients, are you recommending ETFs? Are you recommending mutual funds? Where would you say you fall?
So, I mean, what I'm going to say to this. Definitely not mutual funds. And
it's a hot take.
Well,
for the average person, I
yeah. I guess if we're talking about what wealthy people do versus non-wealthy people.
No, I guess just overall, right? Mutual funds beat out ETFs. I wouldn't take that bet. I wouldn't take that.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree at all. I think mutual funds are overexpensive. Just
high fee.
The fee combined with the portfolio management, if you want to even call it that, it's not so much that they're reacting to the market. It's that every mutual fund is based on a prospectus. So a prospectus is how that fund is intended to work. Meaning there's a mutual fund manager buying and selling based on a template, not so much reacting to market data and markets every single day. So if you're talking about unmanaged mutual funds, then they, obviously they definitely don't beat out an ETF that's actively managed. So I think really the idea behind doing it the right way, whether it's a mutual fund or an ETF, is that you have to stay on top of this stuff. There's sector rotations, there's all these different things, pandemics, recessions and crashes and tech bubble bursts and real estate crashes. So if you're not actively involved or somebody isn't actively involved on your behalf, you're missing out on opportunity.
Definitely.
That's fact.
This article goes on to claim that he thinks ETFs are meant to be traded, as they're hot, so in and out of them. Mutual funds, it looks like they're claiming that are more long-term investments. Whatever investment you pick, whether it's long-term or short-term, you have to be able to review these things and don't let someone sell you something by saying, oh, well, the goal is not to look at it for 5 years. What does that mean, right? If someone walks into your house and says, oh, we're going to make this big, beautiful kitchen, but you can't look at it for 5 years, what are you going to tell that person? You tell them to blow it out their ass, right? So don't let anyone ever sell you anything based on the fact that, oh, we'll just give it time. 5 years from now, you have the best kitchen in the world. In the meantime, you're eating ramen out of the back, okay? So anytime you see something like that, that's a mistake. I'll give you a hint. Wealthy people don't buy mutual funds, and they don't really buy ETFs either. Wealthy people buy stock, right? So stock's going to have no fee, especially now. You're not paying any commission. If you're paying commission for a stock, the 80s called. They want to bring you back. So stop paying commission for stock, and pay for that active pick, right? So if you're going to hire a professional, right, and you're going to hire a mutual fund professional, that he or she, that manager, is going to manage that fund. That's some garbage. You're going to pay 1% for that. On the flip side, you could pay an advisor 1% and get a stock sleeve. That's just a lot more bang for your buck. And the fee is going to be non-existent for the investment itself. So throughout life, wealthy people are doing two things. They're maximizing their return and they're minimizing their fees and all the costs. So obviously paying for professional advice, coming from two professionals, we're going to tell you it's always a great idea, but let's make sure we're not overpaying. So don't let anyone say you crap, like forget this stuff and look at it in 5 years. That's not a good idea. But wealthy people aren't even doing this. So wealthy people are buying real estate, businesses. They're doing all the right stuff. So outside of these markets, kind of plays into number 2. Gino, would you add to this? What do you think? Wealthy people with the ETFs, mutual funds?
I guess I definitely think you're overpaying if you're paying for actively managed mutual funds. I think it's a little bit different than actively managed ETFs.
Yeah.
Because you're definitely overpaying for the mutual fund fee.
Mm-hmm.
So they are expensive compared to stocks and ETFs. But no, what you said, reminded me of something our fearless leader told us at one point, and that's poor people buy mutual funds. So
let me preface that. Our fearless leader laughed at the idea of him purchasing mutual funds, and then he said, "quote Poor people buy mutual funds." So, compared to his wealth, the two people on this recording are definitely poor compared to him. So, I understand his reasoning. But don't take that. You should not strive to be somewhere you don't belong as an investor. Mutual funds can get the job done. ETFs can absolutely get the job done. A stock portfolio certainly can do it. So don't be intimidated by that. But really, what do you think he was trying to communicate with that?
Well, I think he's trying to get us to think like that, and it's preaching that to the people we speak to every single day. So for you listeners who are looking to get in the mind of somebody who's thinking about money or somebody who just looks like money because they make so much, that's how they think. So
that is absolutely right.
And I agree with that, getting in the right mindset and thinking like rich people. I mean, that's essentially what we're talking about here with this article is, the four things that we're talking about are all these that Dave Ramsey preaches are all what rich people do.
Yeah.
So
what he says not to do, or
what he says not to do, or what rich people do,
or some of the
So
big takeaways.
Think in order to grow and
to be somewhere you've never been, you have to do something you've never done. It's the cheesiest line in the world, but if everyone and their mother is investing in mutual funds and stocks, right, or mutual funds, ETFs right now, and you're not happy with their level of wealth, obviously you got to look at this and say, what are some different investments? I guess as a pause or a soapbox, I get on every soapbox I can as long as it can support me. So something that wealthy people do that you should not be afraid of is they're not afraid of paying fees for performance in whatever they do. So if you think about it, wealthy folks are buying first-class tickets overseas. One, because they have the money to do it. Two, because they value their time. They're not going to sit back in economy with fucks like me who are just trying to get through the day. They're not going to do that. They value their time and their comfort and all that kind of good stuff, and they're going to sit up front. And these wealthy people, they're going to stay at the hotel in town because it's convenient to everywhere they're going. And they value their time, and they understand that, this is a high... They don't get sticker shock, right? They look at this, this is a $600 a night hotel, which is outrageous. But it may be worth it depending on where you are. And the same thing applies to your everyday life. So it's really nice to drive well-made cars, for example, BMWs, Teslas, and they're very expensive. So the same way with the investments, don't be scared away by a high fee type of investment if the performance is there. Now, we just got done talking about mutual funds and how they're high cost, and they can be high cost. But if you show me a mutual fund that averaged 20% a year and it costs me 3%, obviously that's a tremendous investment. I'm going to pay that. I'm going to pay that 3% because I have such a great track record. So, keep in mind the fee. It's obviously a big part of it, and avoiding unnecessary fee is a strategy that wealthy people will implement. But at the same time, wealthy people will also sit down and say, you know what, this investment offers me all of this protection. It helps me reach my goals. Oh, and it has a fee, but who cares? Fees are only an issue in the absence of value. I think we've said that previously. So, I don't know. Gino, what do you think? Wealthy people, they spend a lot of money, but I think they have a good reason behind it. I think they value some aspects that the average person probably does not. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff in there that you just said. And
a lot of words in there.
It could be confusing because we're talking about mutual fund fees and how poor people don't buy mutual funds. Or they do buy mutual funds.
They definitely do.
So, I
Dodge
think,
trucks. If you're buying anything Dodge, just think about it, please.
What do you have against Dodge?
Why would you buy it? It's just crazy. Listen,
Why
folks out there, buy the car you want to buy. But if you're thinking about buying a Dodge, please spend 10 minutes in the waiting room just thinking about what you're about to do.
or if it'll make you so happy that every single day you have a smile on your face because you get in and out of your car.
You probably didn't buy a Dodge.
By
I
all
agree.
means. So, what we were just talking about.
Wealthy people,
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do
paying
with,
money for stuff.
they're comfortable with amenities, or they need amenities to feel comfortable.
Or I think they value things that traditionally we don't. Time.
Well,
people are willing to sit in the back of these planes, canned up. No wonder COVID spread like it did. The leg room back there, folks. Now, maybe you can't splurge for an airline seat. I understand. But just that little bit of comfort. And folks out there that don't understand why people buy private jets, imagine showing up at a local airport 10 minutes down the road from you. You step out of your car, which you didn't drive. You get on a plane that you don't fly, and you're the only one on there. You get to your destination, in a straight line. Let me tell you guys something. Those airliners go way faster than you're going, but optimally, they go slower. So imagine straight line as fast as possible. These wealthy people are paying for that convenience. And sometimes in your own life, it's worth considering paying for that convenience, even if you're not the wealthiest person. So, value your time, value the headache of doing something. I think a lot of what Gino and I do, correct me if I'm wrong, Gino, but we take a lot of headache out of stuff. So not only do we show you the investment, we're going to help you do the paperwork. That's worth something. How many times would, if you buy the Fast Pass whenever you go to Disney World, they make Fast Passes for everything else in life. Just consider it. I guess is my soapbox for the week. So.
Well, I think what you're referring to, obviously fees are only an issue if there is no value, right? So really wealthy people value their time, they value convenience, they value the amenities, things. There's a lot of things in there. But I think it's more so, even more than that, it's how productive wealthy people are on a daily basis. So the reason why they have wealth is because every single day they're making deals, they're looking at opportunities, they're
considering all the factors.
They're maximizing the hours of the day.
They're not shutting down when they see something. They're analyzing it. They're using their brain.
They're not taking time off all the time. When they get to a place where they're allowed to take lots of time off, but I find that the most successful people are the hardest working. They're the ones that have busy because they want to be. Every single day, they're some of the more pleasant, happier people in life. They feel accomplished. They feel, like they have a huge impact on their lives, and they're responsible for all these other people.
Absolutely, that's another big indicator of someone's wealth for me is how they treat other people. Wealthy people aren't assholes. And if someone's going to act,
I don't know about that. Depends on.
Listen, I met a lot of assholes.
Wealth. Right? What are you talking about? Wealth. So,
I'm talking a guy that. Him and his wife, they've got $4 or $5 million all together at the end of retirement, and they're considering a 60 a year, age 60 retirement. They're probably not assholes. I've met very few assholes that have actually achieved that wealth, because why would you be rude to someone when your life's already going so well? If you get to the finish line,
to be mad at.
You don't have a lot to stress about, right? If you get to the finish line with $4 or $5 million to spend, you're going to be, unless you're spending a crazy amount of money, you're going to be very happy in retirement, which means what do you have to worry about? You're retiring early, your kids are taken care of if you have them, you're traveling. The rude people are the ones that they don't have that luxury. So,
they're stressed every day. Yeah. So is that your number? Are you saying because
$4 or $5 million? I would say that's comfortable. If you get to the finish line at $4 or $5 million, you're going to be happy. It depends on what you're spending.
Depends on your lifestyle. Yeah, exactly.
Depends on your lifestyle. But I would say the average person probably. If you gave me a check right now for $5 million, I'll tell you what, probably wouldn't work Mondays or Fridays anymore.
How would that be any different from?
Are you kidding me? Okay, so here's what you do, right? Hot tip of the week. Anyone in here, you ever win the lottery? Don't touch that money. I know I just said don't do this. Don't touch that money for 5 years. Go find an investor that's willing to actually grow it for you. Check on it quarterly. Go work some shit pizza job where you get to be a degenerate all day, right? Be the millionaire serving pizzas. Somebody slams the door in your face, gives you $2 tip. Smile. You're a fucking millionaire. If you win the lottery, go put that shit away for 5 years. Check on it quarterly. Grow the shit out of it. Go.
Yeah. Don't pay off your debts.
Don't pay off your debts. Poor people pay off their debt. You want to die in debt. You want the debt collector knocking on your casket because he doesn't believe you're dead. That's how in debt you are, folks. It's okay. Debt is good. This brings us into point
I was just gonna
four,
say,
or point three
segue.
is, and we'll kind of wrap up with 3 and 4. Putting retirement savings before all debt payoff. So
1,000%.
yeah,
And
so
I think
he's
we've
saying
talked
that you
about this
should.
before.
Ramsey's saying that you should pay off all your debt, except for your home, before you start getting into it. And some of this is really good idea. So he says to start with an emergency fund. I give the Anthony stamp of approval on that. And then obviously pay off everything except for your house. Could be a good idea. But listen, when you're looking at your debt, if you have a personal loan at 8%, and let's say you find an investment that averages 9%, it's in your advantage to not pay that off because...
Let me stop you right there. Don't get a personal loan. If you folks have a personal loan or you're thinking about one, read the fine print and then
they're expensive. They're expensive. Listen, so
and the rate changes.
I don't have that negative of mindset when it comes to personal loan. If you need the money, as long as you're prepared to pay for it, go out and get a boat loan and a personal loan, folks. I don't give a shit. Consider a 401k loan. It's probably the most efficient way to get a loan. Pay yourself back. But I don't care why you have the debt, as long as you're being intelligent about it. But don't pay off, especially all your debt, before you're saving for yourself. There's no compound interest. Well, there is, but it's working against you with your debt. But it's, the more you can invest in compound, your net, you're going to be very happy with your decision. So, and he goes on to say, it could take you years to pay off every dollar of debt. And listen, shit comes up. You get blacked out. You spend $600 on a Saturday night. That may set you back for 6 months. Are you really willing to sacrifice 6 months of your future investing to pay for a moment you don't even remember? Don't pay off. I mean, make your minimums. Folks.
Yes.
Don't get into crazy debt is really the biggest idea here. But if you are going to get into debt, make it for good purchases. Or on the flip side of it, make your minimums and pay yourself before you pay the bank. They don't give a shit about you.
Yes. So I'll add to that. I think the first place to start is there is good debt and bad debt.
Definitely.
So you should not keep credit card debt. You should do everything in your power to remove that because you're paying anywhere from 15 to 25% interest. You're getting ripped off.
Yeah, definitely.
So get rid of credit card debt. I don't see student loans as bad debt. That's an investment on yourself, on your future. They can't
take the asset away, right? They can't take the education
and it doesn't count against your credit score.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Mortgage is good debt. So when you have an appreciating asset,
great debt.
Real estate typically is, you can leverage that debt to make money. So how really rich people make money, and lots of money, is they don't use their money. They leverage the bank. They buy the bigger home.
Yeah, they use as little money as they can of their money to do it. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I think the idea behind this, and I know we've touched on this before, it's definitely
it's
kind of
good roots,
centered around.
But it's
centered around
crazy.
opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
So right. I think of, and this is something I tell folks almost every single day. So every single day I'm talking about opportunity costs, because for someone who's young, and when I say young, they could be in their late 40s, mid 40s, even early 50s, in this debt repayment mode. I want to have the house paid off by the time I'm 60. So they're putting, 2-3 times the mortgage towards, or 2-3 times the payment towards the mortgage. Just all this opportunity that you're missing out on by saving into something that appreciates, versus something that isn't costing you a whole lot. That is the opportunity cost. Definitely. So if you look at our market, what was it from 2018 to 2010 to 2018? It grew 400%.
Yeah, something crazy.
If you were somebody paying off debt from 2008, 2010, and you did that for 4 or 5 years, well, you just missed out on lots and lots of.
You did. So
don't be stupid. Don't be only debt conscious. Think about savings too. So you can pay a little bit more towards your mortgage, but also think about investing. If you're talking about thousands of extra dollars and you're putting that towards debt, invest.
It adds up.
You'll see how much better off.
It's going to be more powerful. Point number 4 was don't be afraid of credit, which is really all that we just harped on there. So don't be afraid of credit. Don't be afraid of debt, but use it strategically. So ask yourself, am I buying the right thing with this debt? Am I buying a boat? Am I buying a house? Am I buying a vacation? Am I buying a rental? What are you doing with this debt? If it, talk to a professional. I really can't stress that enough. Poor people assume they can figure it out. Listen, folks,
Yeah,
I've seen how half of you drive. I'm shocked you put the seatbelt on. Don't assume you can figure it out. I promise you can. Talk to someone. Your life will go so much better by talking to a professional about anything you do, whether it's financial planning, whether you're taking your medical advice off YouTube. Wealthy people will consult experts.
Correct. That's a great point. Everybody that's thought and you'll find the people that are kind of, more of like a driver personality, and
they're not willing to swallow their pride.
Sound
which
like
I get,
sound like they know it all, but I promise
intelligent
you,
people
of the time,
admit they don't. I would say.
Yeah, exactly. They know, and they know they don't know everything. That's what makes them intelligent, and they value expertise.
Yep.
So if you want to think like a rich person, then understand that you don't know it all, and have an open mind.
Have an open mind. Seek out opportunity. Don't be the person that has always worked for your company for 25 years. If you're not working for yourself, you're getting screwed. That's kind of the overarching tip of the day is. So if you're working for someone else, you're working for ABC company, you've been doing it 25 years, and every time you get that LinkedIn message or that call, it's like, hey, we're hiring this, and you're not taking that opportunity, I think you're making a big mistake, because again, wealthy people are going to keep their doors open. They're going to consider all the different opportunities, and they're willing to pay for advice. They're willing to pay for specialized advice, and that is what makes them wealthy. It's their decision making. It's not the money they're born with or that they earn.
It's the mindset.
The decision making. It's the mindset. So, and they also don't drive Dodge cars, so consider that. No, I used to want one of those. I used to want a Challenger.
So, a Challenger SRT10.
Yeah, the new ones, they're not. They're fast cars, but
Dodge Viper. I know. You're definitely some.
Yeah, there were some cars in there. They look all right. They just look big. I'd rather one of the more classic, a classic Challenger.
Old school Challenger, yeah.
Ooh, that'd be insane.
Yeah, like Fast and Furious.
Yeah, and then
Dominic Toretto
in high school bought a Dodge Dart. We used to get high sitting in the front of it because the exhaust would leak into the cabin, and we like 10 minutes into the drive, we're just out of our mind. Like, what is going on? It's the carbon monoxide. It was just getting to our brains. We would
those
get
cars will kill you.
Out of our mind, just like wacky weird. Sitting in the front of his Dodge Dart. So, all right. So, overarching themes, folks: make smart decisions with your money. We thank you for tuning in this week. You need to share this with at least 5 people, preferably 10. Like I said, Anthony does not want to work the rest of his life. And look at the cover art. We don't know how long I got, so please help me help you by helping me not work the rest of my life. Share this with your friends. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you go for your podcast content. We're probably on there, so please look us up. Share us with your friends. As always, you could send us an email at theworldneededanotherpodcast@gmail.com. Please write us a question. We had one viewer send in a rather naughty photo, so Gino, really appreciate that, folks. You can send those in. We will give you a rating.
Send them in. Please send them in.
Yeah, so we will give
Any
you a rating.
photo.
We won't show it.
Acceptable.
But, Gino and I, some people might consider us experts in that field. So we're happy to let you know how you're looking or how things are hanging. So please, get us going out there, folks. But we appreciate you tuning in. Gino, another week.